Good afternoon, everybody. And the clock's now, it's now 1 o'clock. And with me today, I have the CFO of NeoDynamics, Aaron Wong. And for the audience, just put your questions during the presentation on your right side, and I will forward them to Aaron during the presentation. This is a Q&A session, so of course we focus on the 2022 full year report, but then we will dive into the launch and the US of NeoDynamics, which is of course a major event in NeoDynamics for the moment. So with that said, I would like to welcome you, Aaron Wong. It's been a busy and very productive year on your side, and especially after you got the clearance from FDA. Welcome, Aaron.
Hi, Klaus. Yes, thank you very much for hosting me today. It has been a very busy year. The start of 2023 has been, it's been busy. I mean, we've started the commercialization progress in the US, but just taking a step back and talking about the FDA clearance that we received in September. I think it should be noted that it was actually quite a smooth process for us, and that was because we submitted a very good file. We've seen with other companies that we've benchmarked that it's taken some other companies up to 2 years actually to get to an FDA clearance. So we see that as a very positive thing.
You filed already early 2022, and 6-7 months later you got the clearance.
Absolutely, exactly. And I mean, we kind of filed in the middle of COVID, where a lot of government sort of departments in the US and around the world were being heavily resource constrained by the pandemic. So I think the quality of our submission reflected how fast we made it through.
Yeah, no, that's right. So Aaron, if we take a step back just to you get this clearance, and then of course then you also have to put your focus on going to the market. So you chose to launch NeoDynamics in US this year, and you decided to launch NeoDynamics together with the FlexiPulse needle. Could you elaborate a little about why you're doing that? Because in Europe you have the whole needle program.
Yes. For the audience and for viewers that may not be fully up to speed with the product suite that we offer 3 needles. We offer the FlexiPulse, which I'll go into. We also offer the CorePulse and the VacuPulse. All of them sit on top of the technology, our innovative pulse technology. In Europe, the CorePulse and VacuPulse have competition in that there are other CorePulse or core and vacuum assisted biopsies available. However, none of them have the pulse technology. In the US, the FlexiPulse needle is really one of a kind. There is nothing out there at the moment that allows healthcare professionals to sample suspected breast cancer in the lymph nodes. And it is an open tip biopsy needle, which means you can actually get the needle right up to the suspected lesion in complex areas such as the lymph node, where you've got nerves, you've got blood vessels. So that's the kind of value proposition that we're positioning ourselves towards the US. And if we look at the market in general in Europe, I mean, Europe is a very important market for us. I mean, we shouldn't forget Europe. It's where we started, and we will continue, and we believe it will be successful there. But in terms of the appetite for innovation, we very much see the US as we know, as we've talked about before, the home of medtech. And they are, I would say, they are more open to innovation than maybe Europe is, where they have this kind of cost containment structure. So with that being said, we can charge a premium for our product in the US, and that's the kind of strategy that we're going for to engage with breast surgeons primarily, and we want to engage with breast surgeons because they have probably a higher degree of probably power and assertiveness or control over their budgets. They can really push through the tools they want to use. And we see that the FlexiPulse needle as better for not just the breast surgeons that are doing the procedure, but also the patients. You get less insertions, you get a high degree of accuracy, high quality of samples. So with that, you get the patient side of things, which is also incredibly important to us, and that's why we do what we do.
Yeah. Interesting. That's also interesting for the viewers that you actually, after a strategic review, you found out that, well, there's an unmet need in the market, and that's where we position ourselves. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah, and just I just want to highlight on that. I mean, the current methodology is at the moment is for open surgery. I mean, when they take the biopsies, they actually have to open up the armpit, and that's something which we believe we can avoid with our FlexiPulse needle. So there's no expensive trips to the operating theatre. The procedure can be done in-house in perhaps an office setting. Yeah,
and surgery don't come without any risk. So in terms of that, you also decrease the risk for the patient.
Yeah, well, I'd say without risk, but with lower risks, I suppose. There's always a risk you have with any type of procedure.
That's right. So you received the clearance. You chose your market to address, and then you also have to build an organization around US. Could you elaborate a little on what you did and what you have done in terms of your mantra of full commercialization in 2023?
Yeah, and building out an organization is an incredibly important part of the strategy, because you need to have the right people on board to get the bus moving. You don't want to start the bus moving and find you need those people further down the line. So to get the people on board at the very start is critical for, I guess, such an endeavor as we're doing. So we first hired Brendan Carney as our national sales director. And thereafter, we hired Matt Colpoys as our CEO of NeoDynamics Inc. Together, they have, almost 60 years of experience within the life science industry. Hopefully, that doesn't give an indication of how old they are, but what I can say is they have a very deep knowledge of the industry. Both of them have worked for companies like Genentech, Pharmacia, which was then sold to Pfizer. Genentech was then sold to Roche, and they have a unique insight into the complexities around getting a product like this off the ground. So very pleased to have them on board, and very excited to see how they will deliver the strategy together with us this year.
And you are addressing the high end of the market, Aaron. How many sales reps do you actually need to cover that? I think that's important for the audience to understand. It's not every clinic in US that you have to address with your needles.
No, exactly. So what we said is we wanted to address the top 20 clinics in the US. And as the audience probably knows, the US is enormous. Right now we have Matt kind of working alongside Brendan in that, covering, I guess, a more sales specific role. But in terms of key account managers, what I've talked about before is scaling up and doing so in a responsible and controlled way. Obviously, and this all goes part into the financing and part into how successful the engagement is with KOLs. But I think what we would want is by the end of the year to probably have 8, maybe 10 CAMs on board that will look after different areas of the US, probably 4 on the east, 4 on the west, something like that, depending on how the spread of the regions is set up. But again, it won't be until we have some degree of confidence that we have the right basis in place, both financially and also from an engagement process.
Yeah, and then you announced a very interesting agreement with Diligent, because that's a part of building your organization and infrastructure in US as well. So what is it actually that Diligent does and help you with doing in US?
Yeah, I mean, for us as a quite small business, we need to leverage our partnerships with these strategic players. Excuse me. So Diligent provide medical information and customer care and customer service. So when somebody needs information about our product, or there's a question or something, they will call into a line that's manned by Diligent, but it will be as if you're calling into NeoDynamics. And Diligent are a very important part of the puzzle, because they are part of the Uniphar group, and Uniphar is an enormous outfit. I mean, they have sales around 2 billion euros. They're an Irish outfit. And Unifar, we also announced that we would partner with Unifar on the supply chain. And Unifar will help us with all the logistics management, such as warehousing, transportation, and things like that. So we're very, very pleased to have both Unifar and Diligent as collaborators on this.
Yeah, interesting. And how about production? Because now Unifar and Unifar organization is taking care of logistics, as you mentioned before, diligent feedback and client service, customer service. Sorry. What about your production? Are you building up already now, or how does it work?
Yes, I mean, I think it would be we wouldn't go into this without a degree of stock that would be available to the market. So we've been kind of carefully managing our inventory over the last 6 months to try and build in line with our expected forecast what we believe we can deliver to the market. And it's always a balancing act, because you don't want to obviously invest in slow moving products and inventory when you've got to consider the other financial constraints of a business such as ours. But we partner with some quite big players in the production side, such as Sanmina, which is a global US company that helps us with some of our production. We've also got some of our production in Thailand, in Infos, where we are outsourcing the needle production. So we have, I would say, very strong support from partner producers, helping us to both build up kind of buffer stock, but not build up too much. So, and then obviously, with the situation today, materials are becoming harder to come by, and this whole supply chain throughout, I think the world's becoming a little bit more pressurized. But these big organizations have access to resources that we wouldn't otherwise have. So we're happy to have them, yeah.
Yeah, good. So when you decide to do stuff like this, I know from other companies, sometimes the missing link is the IT infrastructure. And now that's your area as well, Aaron.
Yes.
You have ERP systems and other systems in place when you have an outsourced strategy, you target a new market and so on and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, we currently use a quite well-established and well-known ERP system here in Sweden, and we're looking at rolling that out into other regions so they kind of all talk collaboratively. I think from the get-go, we will have support from Unifar and Diligent on the ERP side, because they will be managing a lot of the throughput of the materials. That being said, I think that the longer-term goal is to have localized ERP systems in the region, both in the US and in Germany as well. So,
well, good. Thanks a lot, Aaron. And just for the audience, please, if you have any questions, just type in on the right side, and I'll pass them on to Aaron. And otherwise, of course, I have further questions. I think we should dive a little into. There's a question coming here. Let's see. Let's take that, Aaron. 2 seconds. I just have to publish it.
sure.
So it's here. You mentioned high level of complexity regarding the sales of the FlexiPulse product, but what does that mean? It sounds as if the product is so innovative that it should be relatively easy to sell. Could you answer on that?
Yeah, I mean, the complexity, I think, is around the how we've developed the product. I mean, there's, I think, almost 300 different moving pieces within the product itself. And it's not been an easy task by any stretch of the imagination, but now we're there with a product which is fit for purpose, and will, like we talked about, will help serve the unmet need that we see in the market. I mean, most of the technology that's out there has been around and is antiquated, has been around for many, many years. So there needs to be this jump in evolution in what we can do to serve patients.
Yeah, and as you mentioned in the beginning, the stickiness towards innovative products is probably more present in Europe than in US. And you will, for sure, with your organization over there, choose those clinics that are more focused on innovative products to get some track.
Exactly, and it's an interesting balance, because on one hand you've got a product that actually is technically quite advanced, but then you have to put it in a package that is relatively easy to use. So it's really interesting, and we feel like we've felt that balance. We've brought that balance by having a piece of equipment that is if I can use it, I'm pretty sure anybody can use it. And it's very easy to operate. I mean, the buttons are very straightforward and easy to use. So I think we're especially proud that we've managed to package something complex into very easy to use technology.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah. So if we jump a little into finance, because that's a very important part of a company like yours and growing like you want to do. There's a question more coming in here before we go to the finance side. Which part of Europe do you recognize as growth markets? Or in other words, which countries in Europe does your company want to penetrate, develop further? Well, you can probably elaborate a little on your European strategy, Aaron.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a good question, and that's something which we've talked about before. Is that we have our product out in SA products out. We have collaborations out and dialogue out in the UK, Ireland, and we also have a German subsidiary that we're working in the DACH region. So in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, and they're really our main focus markets. And of course, Sweden, which is our home market. So Sweden, UK, and Ireland, and Germany are the markets where we see the establishment for the product needing to be made first, and then we'll obviously see how that takes off and how we can move into other markets.
Good, thanks a lot, Aaron. So when we talk finance, you last week or the week before, you mentioned that you went into a loan agreement with one of your biggest owners to secure your path towards full commercialization in the US. Could you elaborate a little on that and on how finance look in general?
Yeah. So NeoDynamics is a fully equity finance business. It's a company that goes through yearly successive intakes of capital raising, and this year I don't expect it to be any different. Our largest shareholder, Greening Holding AB, truly believes in our story, believes in our product, and he believes in our people. And for that reason, Johan, who is the CEO, felt that he would like to continue with his investment into the company. And he provided us with a loan in order to allow us to maneuver easier in the next couple of months in order to secure, I would say, more sustainable long-term financing, as we did last year with the rights issue. And as we will do this year. I'm not saying this year will be a rights issue, but this year we will look for a capital injection of some form to continue on with the product and the development, and also to kind of finalize and get the commercialization in the US up and running. So that was the kind of main reason for the loan. I mean, he saw that the commercialization in the US was extremely important, as it is for us. And financing is on everybody's minds. It's not just ours. So one thing I was told by an investment analyst was that if your product is good enough, you'll always find the money. And I truly believe that in our case.
Yeah, well, and you have all this experience from Europe. So of course, it's a new market and different market characteristics, but it's not like you're not in the market.
And that's exactly. And I think the word is kind of slowly creeping out amongst the KOLs and also in the industry itself, because one of the things that we've looked at, I mean, the longer term objective is how do we create volumes? And we've always said that we would build kind of a narrow but deep strategy on rolling this out. So this is what we want to do first, and then afterwards we can look towards partnerships and bigger players that maybe can help drive volume. And I mean, we have had interest from some of the bigger players in the market, but I think that we would be maybe running before we could walk if we decided to go that route before we were happy with rolling out in a controlled, systematic, and careful manner.
So if there's any other questions, please pass them on to me, and I will pass them on to Aaron. Otherwise, Aaron, now we are in February, and what is your experience so far in US? I know there's a lot of things going on, of course, when you're building your story over there, but you have 10 months left for the full commercialization target. Do you already see some openings in there, or can you elaborate a little on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that our expectations have been met in terms of what we believe the market to look like and what we believe the engagement to be. So I think it's important to note that we've got 10 months left. There's still quite a lot of the year left in order to get this up and running. But our milestones, our internal milestones that we're working towards, we've met. And we're pleased, as I say, I'll go back again to the diligent and the Unifar. We're pleased to have the kind of critical support structure in place to get the project off and running in 2023. And 2023 will be an exciting and I think very transformative year for the business. I think 2022, we were faced with certain delays around the needle, but we did that in order to make sure that the quality was there and that we incorporated feedback from our customers. So I don't think anybody in the business has to feel guilty that it took longer than expected, because this is a product that is innovative, it's complex, but it also requires a degree of care and attention when it comes to building it. So 2022 was very much a pre-form transformative, if I could put it in that context. And 2023 will be very exciting for us.
If you look, there's a good question here. If you look 3 to 5 years down the road, could you indicate something about your expected market share? Is it a single digit, double digit, or even higher?
Yeah, that's a good question, because our 3 to 5 year strategy or long-term strategy is obviously, we've talked about entering China, and it's a very difficult market to assess in terms of its overall size. But what we are saying is that we're doing in different stages. We're both taking market share, if you look at our cold pulse and back pulse, and we're creating market share if we look at the flexi pulse. So, I mean, as a finance person, I always try to lead on the side of caution, but I would say high single digits would be reasonable. But you never know. In these situations, when you're bringing something so new to the market, it could just explode. I mean, at the same time, it could kind of be a slow burn. It's very difficult to assess right now, but our expectation is to really deliver a product that is going to be beneficial for patients.
Good. Thanks a lot, Aaron. Don't know if we have any other questions from the audience. Doesn't really seem to be the thing. So with that said, Aaron, I would like to thank you a lot for participating here and give some flavor on your upcoming strategy and the 2021 highlights. And thanks a lot to the audience for some good questions. With that said, I would like to tell everybody to have a very nice day, and hope to see you soon, Aaron.
Thank you very much, Klaus.